In 17 days, Europe is about to change forever, and not in a good way. If you live in Europe right now, I'd stock up on supplies, get in shape, say goodbye to mom and dad for a while, and get ready to be called to defend the elites and their castles, because the cannon-fodder era of World War I and World War II and the thousands of years of warring are about to come to a head. In 17 days, Europe is about to face potentially another war. I'm sorry to say this, but no one on YouTube has ever spent more time than I have explaining the Anthony Blinken, Barack Obama, European progressive globalist counterparts and their whole agenda. And they're leaving right now President Putin of Russia no choice but to defend Mother Russia. It is a suicide mission for Europe. I know this is not a popular position among the globalist rhinos, the Lindsey Grahams of the world in Washington, D.C., but it needs to be said. And we've had our YouTube channel banned by YouTube for weeks at a time for calling out the propaganda that's being used right now and foisted upon us, leading us into this war. You know, when I wake up and I don't see any major media outlets running 24/7 analysis on the fact that on October 24th and 25th, Brussels could be voting to begin the next major European war, I'm shocked by how much our media has been bought by the Davos cabal. Without the internet and without independent channels, the masses would already be laying on the fields of Europe. And between today and October 24th, when the European Union convenes to decide on war, I'll do everything I can to shout from the rooftops that we are in an August 1939 kind of moment right now. And if the world's quote-unquote leaders don't come to their senses in some magical fashion, millions might die. Russia will defend itself at all costs. This is an existential war for them, whether NATO knows it or not. Europe is headed for disaster, and I want to make sure that October 24th doesn't come to anyone as a surprise. But I also want to explain that Trump has completely separated himself from this and has really isolated the United States of America from this event, which is great news for us. I mean, under the Biden era, this would not be happening. That means that the granddaddy of all opportunities right now is coming to the United States, because this administration is focusing on innovation here at home, tech, reviving the economy to new heights, not on trying to imagine that Russia can be defeated, because that's delusional. Trump knows that. Even if it means sending the European continent into a years-long recession, America doesn't seem to care. Hell, we blew up your pipeline. So Europe is about to collapse, and the United States is kind of wiping its hands of this. Now, as you know, I've presented on this channel my bullish thesis on this new U.S. economy, what it's going to look like, also on the role of gold, silver, blockchain, manufacturing here in the United States. It's all coming true right in front of our eyes. And the war in Europe is only going to accelerate these wealth trends. Gold is almost at $4,000 an ounce today. Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high, $125,000 per coin. Silver almost at all-time highs. Why? Because smart people know what's coming. War is coming. So let's both break down both my greatest fear about what's coming to Europe, and we'll talk about my biggest opportunity of 2025 and 2026 in the second half of this video. But first, the Copenhagen summit just showed how divided the European leaders are and how NATO is finished, a relic of the past. What I believe is happening is the following. The Western European progressive elites in Brussels, France, Germany are devising war plans to try to win on the front lines. So they say, win on the front lines. This is lunacy, as Viktor Orban says about it when presenting his peace plan and explaining that he will veto any budget or blueprint that sends Hungarian troops to fight for Ukraine. It's not going to happen. Giorgia Meloni also has voted against budgeting another $65 billion towards the war against Russia. Sweden joined NATO, encouraged by Biden and Blinken, the Ivy League arsonists that mortgaged your grandchildren's money to save the Biden crime family. His Afghanistan withdrawal, the most embarrassing day in American history, as Trump has called it, brought this disaster on all of us. So what's next? What's coming in the next 2 weeks on October 24th? Well, we must look at reality squarely in the face and understand that this situation, the current situation on the ground, the battleground is moving to the Swalaki Gap right now. At the Copenhagen summit just days ago, NATO leaders decided two critical things, which makes me believe that an expansion of the war is imminent. Number one, their war strategy is that Russia can be defeated on the front lines. They're delusional. It's one of the most laughable things I've heard, but they're saying this. Number two, more countries should join NATO in order to form a unified front, again, against Russia. Another laughable idea. Russia's not going to let this happen. This fantasy is so nonsensical that even Donald Trump has already told NATO countries that the largest military in the world, which is effectively NATO, the U.S. Army, does not believe in sending millions more to be killed on the altar of a fake moral high ground. We're not going to do it. Viktor Orban, whose country is much closer to Russia than France, Germany, or Belgium, and England, said that many of these Brussels globalist elites have never been under Russian rule, so they're willing to take huge bets and gamble with the fate of the continent. But he isn't. Turkey, the second largest military in NATO, one of the biggest in the world, and the only true mighty army this side of the Atlantic, will not join the war effort either. So Article 5 is basically dead. NATO is a paper tiger at this point. Poland only includes 216,000 troops. Germany, 180,000 troops. England is a joke, 71,000 soldiers. On the other hand, Russia, 1.3 million soldiers strong. And their entire country is under a war economy right now. And they're recruiting another couple of hundreds of thousands of troops as we speak. The difference between their preparedness to defend their homeland from NATO encroachment and warmongering compared to the young demographics of Western Europe, whose greatest ever fight in the past 30 years has been to rush to get a coffee at a coffee shop. I mean, their enlistment numbers, the lowest in generations. They don't want to fight. Young people in England don't want to fight at all. Have you seen their country? That shows me that the elites want war without regard to reality. So the Suwalki Corridor, which is a Russian territory since 1945, includes a strategic port whose greatest attribute is that it doesn't freeze in winter. It's likely Putin's next offensive. He has no choice, since NATO's Western European aristocrats basically are determined to drag the world to war. This is going to be the choke point. Putin has brought drones and new tanks forward to Belarus, and Putin can either advance into Poland or into Latvia and Estonia. If the EU warmongers decide in 2 weeks to bet on the fantasy of trying to fight Russia over finally growing up and approaching Russia to begin some sort of a diplomatic negotiation, we're going to be in trouble. Remember, Russia's economy is doing much better than France's, Germany's, and the UK's, who are plunging into recessions. Italy might be next. As Trump said last week at the UN, you're destroying your countries.
I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
I have no idea what they're thinking, but all of this crazy talk from Sweden and Finland's leaders makes me think that we all have about 2 weeks to prepare until Putin wisely preempts an assault on Russia's sovereignty and these idiots decide to make a play for Russia's Kaliningrad. Because NATO keeps taunting and going up against their agreed-upon resolutions. A top U.S. general now says that NATO could seize Kaliningrad in just a matter of hours, not days or months. NATO openly threatening to seize a key Russian port and city that gives them access to the Baltics. And they still want Ukraine to join the NATO alliance. So all eyes right now on Kaliningrad. The whole thing is crazy. Putin is not going to allow this to happen. He said it last week. If NATO provokes us, be ready for Russia to respond. These EU-NATO nutjobs are off their rocker. That's why gold is trading at an all-time high right now, as well as silver, Bitcoin. That's why there's de-dollarization on an accelerated pace, because a new bloc has entered the global competition and Europe just fails to see the rise of the global south, with India, Brazil leading the charge right now. They want access to global markets, and American fintech giants and new disruptors know that blockchain is the key to all of this. So the global south will become richer, more advanced than Europe. Europe is going to go back into the dark ages if this continues. Now, this is my prediction. Unless major political elections take Europe to a more conservative and logical winners, not lunatics from the left that are incredibly unpopular, they are digging their own graves right now unless there's a revolution in Europe. Wake up, Europe. So that's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to what's happening with all of the tokenization right now of these real world assets. It's a global revolution of sorts. One of the first ever companies to tell markets that they will be denominating their balance in gold is today's sponsor, StreamX. Okay, here's their ticker symbol on your screen. It's STEX. They're on the NASDAQ, and they are aiming right now to tokenize gold and monetize this giant freight train that's coming. So every day, $295 billion changes hands in the gold markets. So imagine StreamX as a first mover in this play. They're able to turn some of that volume to their proprietary platform. My God, it's huge. StreamX lets markets know that it will be denominating its balance sheet in gold. This is a historic decision and shows that the company's core outlook on how central gold is to the monetary stability right now going forward. You see it right now with China and Russia buying up as much gold as they can in their central banks, moving away from the US dollar. Billionaire mining tycoon Frank Giustra, who already owned more than 10% of Streamex, just reported he purchased 179,605 shares of common stock on July 25th and August 14th of 2025. Streamex has also partnered with Monetary Metals to start developing a tokenized gold product aimed at offering investors up to a 4% annual yield. Frank Giustra is one of the biggest investors in the mining business, and now he's deepening his bet on a NASDAQ-listed company tokenizing gold on the blockchain. And again, Frank Giustra, a legend in this industry, now owns a total of 17,193,640 common shares in this company, Streamex. That's 12.02% of the company, to be exact. So Streamex is one of the first publicly traded companies ever on the NASDAQ focused exclusively on tokenizing gold on the blockchain and then holding gold directly as an asset. So in my opinion, few developments have the transformative potential of tokenization. At its core, tokenization involves basically converting rights to an asset, be it real estate, stocks, bonds, even art, into digital tokens on a blockchain. These tokens then represent fractional ownership. It enables like seamless 24/7 trading, enhanced liquidity, reduced intermediary costs. That's a huge cost. All of those intermediaries getting in between these transactions. It's projected to unlock trillions in value by tokenizing illiquid assets like private equity and real estate. The Boston Consulting Group estimates that tokenized asset market could reach 16 trillion by 2030. Under the Trump administration's pro-crypto pivot, tokenization isn't just evolving, it's accelerating at breakneck speed right now. The revolution is here, and it's unforgiving. Just on January 23rd of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order officially titled Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology. And then by July, Trump signed the Genius Act, which is known for its innovation in stablecoins. That's now in the law. This was the first full federal regulatory regime for stablecoins, a critical backbone for tokenized finance. And then David Sachs, appointed as the White House AI and crypto czar in February, is a pivotal figure in all of this. So Streamex has announced that it will soon be commercializing its first token, together with Monetary Metals. It's a pioneer in gold and silver denominated financial products and strategies. They're going to embark on an exclusive long-term strategic partnership to launch a groundbreaking up to 4% yield generating gold product, supported by Streamex tokenization and treasury platforms. This is huge. Through this collaboration, Streamex will gain exclusive rights to tokenize yield-bearing gold products, while Monetary Metals then provides access to its precious metals leasing and bond programs. And then through this partnership, Streamex expects to offer investors an opportunity to earn an estimated 4% return on that tokenized gold bullion product that the company will offer, as well as earning a return on the company's own gold treasury holdings that it has on its own balance sheet. I think this quote sums it up well. It's the reason I believe that Streamex has really found a disruptive product to compete with gold ETFs. Quote, gold is a global financial asset with deep liquidity. Paying fees to let it sit idle in a vault should not be the only option. Our vision has been to unlock gold's natural ability by using it to finance real-world businesses and generate a yield, said Keith Weiner, who's the founder and CEO of Monetary Metals. We are excited to work with Streamex to create new ways to deliver gold yield to global markets, including tokenized solutions that combine the trust of gold with the accessibility of blockchain. This partnership is a major step on the road to gold reclaiming its place in global finance. So look, at this point right now, Streamex is before its first ever product has been launched and before its ever client or user has opened an account. It's at the ground floor level right now. If you believe that ETFs, especially gold ETFs, are ripe for disruption, when all of the giants are hard at work building platforms to tokenize real-world assets, Streamex has already done that part, guys. So Guys, do your home research on this, okay? Dive into it. I'll have links to everything in the description below so you can understand their first mover advantage right now in tokenized commodities. So again, here is their ticker on your screen. Do your own homework on this, and we'll see you next time.